languages. We are about to start our program. It's a matter of another 10 minutes at the most. We have our guest in waiting, need to take in. Please bear with us for another 10 minutes. Thank you so much.
हेलो मैम। हाँ
I'll speak it out for you. It's 88 48 697 24 59 9. That's it. Right. Yes, now it should be done. Now it will ask for password. Right. Right. R capital. R A I. Yeah, A I. Everything else in small letters. A I. Yes. A I. I. Right. I corrected. Yeah. Everything in small letters now. Yeah. I.
warm welcome from School of Studies in Literature and Languages, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Raipur, Chhattisgarh, to all respected dignitaries, the Chief Patron of the conference, Professor Keshri Lal Verma, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, respected Professor Girish Kant Pandey, Registrar, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, respected Professor Shail Sharma, Head of the Department, School of Studies in Literature and Languages, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, our distinguished guests, Professor George Onsi from Cairo, Egypt, Professor K.C. Jose from Kottayam, Bhutan, the presenters and the participants. A very warm and pleasant morning to all of you. As we all know that it is a two-day international e-conference on language, literature and media in contemporary times, organized by School of Studies in Literature and Languages, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Raipur. Before I start, I would like to introduce Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University in a brief. Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, established in 1964, is a state university named in the honor of the first Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh. It is the largest and oldest university of Chhattisgarh. With enormous leaps and strides, the university has been accredited with grade A by NAC for its highly regarded multidisciplinary nurturing. With robust study environment, lush green expansive campus, and new technology tools, the university's promising space for recent pedagogy to maximize employability. For richness, this potential university is an active campus for local events, youth festivals, and production of local and national cultures. It gives me always immense pleasure to represent the university. Now, I seek the permission of the chair to start the program. Thank you, sir. And for that, I humbly invite the convener of the conference, respected Professor Madhu Kamra, to introduce the theme and for her welcome address. Professor Madhu Kamra.
Thank you, Smita. At the outset, I express my deep gratitude and hearty welcome to the Vice Chancellor, Dr. K.L. Verma ji, Registrar, Dr. G.K. Pandey ji, and Head of the Department, Dr. Shail Sharma. I also welcome our stellar presenters of the day, Dr. George Onsi and Professor K.C. Jose, for visiting our virtual space with a pack of new information. I also extend greetings of hospitality to dear Dr. A.K. Paliwal, Dr. Gajendra Singh Chauhan, and Dr. Deepa Chandran Ram. Equal measure of greetings I extend to all my colleagues, friends, peers from various parts of the country and cross borders, as well as eager students and research scholars. To begin with the theme of the e-conference, I take the privilege of introducing the signature title of our e-conference, Literature, Language, and Media in Contemporary Times. There is no doubt about the fact that every crisis needs writers, reporters, and speakers to explore prevailing human conditions. For you will all agree that our stay on this earth is not a playful game or a non-serious activity. We need new verbal configurations to explore a crisis like the existing one with heightened awareness. And here, the three vectors, literature, language, and media, fall into an unavoidable triadic relationship. If literature is the making, shaping, and creating of another world, a world that I would say only language can construct and literature can define and media can uphold. We need to recall the adage, books are communicative acts between people. So communication, whether it be print, audio, or digital form, makes an ideological and professional commitment. So what would be more instrumental than literature inclusive of the other two vectors, giving contextual insights to the prevailing times. I would also add that the aesthetic relief floated by Jaipur Festival, curated by Namita Gokhale and team as the Brave New World, had galaxy of celebrities like Atwood, Stephen Griebelt, Peter Carey, to name a few. And then the celebration of 159th birth anniversary of Rabindranath Tagore was the best effort to put the COVID crisis aside, if not behind. In same vein, Oxford English Dictionary had to make a quick leap to incorporate corona coinages by breaking its regular practice of 4-month interval of upgrading. Well, the question that nags us now is, with equal alarm, are we human beings an easy prey, or are we reduced to a negligible existence? At this juncture, qualitative probes do matter, because literature constructs fights required both for the validity of combating contingency and its consumption. I mean, the consumption of literature then is more of a literary enterprise. As a result, no matter what the quality of literature is, whether it is dumb, distorted, or flawed, it does offer some amount of connectivity and conviction. So literature is what it is to be a human. And language, with coinages like language capacity, language behavior, language competence, language performance, and above all, language consumption, has gained more focus as a culturally functional tool. Let me come to the media, its third vector. If we explore densely, we find that media is not mere projection of facts, but also a creator of language. The digital media has now carved a space for media linguistics to study functions of language in spheres like push and pull channels. Further, media has reflected that good intentions are great nurturance. Let me help you recollect. At this stage, Joseph Edison, who patterned the mode of information and language circulation by using the periodical The Spectator as a public genre. The main purpose was to create fine taste and also demonstration of social relations. And I would also love to recall with obeisance what Toni Morrison said in her Nobel Prize acceptance speech. I quote, "We die, that may be the meaning of life, but we do language, that may be the measure of our lives." On this note, I believe that this e-conference will help us to gain more of peace, which of course we are all striving for, and at the same time, measures to uplift our quality of living. Because the poet Aju Mukhopadhyay says, peace oozes out of you to soothe all our wounds. Thank you so much. Thank you, Smita, for calling me.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your influential address and valuable information about the conference. Now, I consider it a great honor to introduce the chief patron of the conference, Honorable Professor Keshri Lal Verma, the Vice Chancellor, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Raipur. Professor Keshri Lal Verma is the revered Vice Chancellor of Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Raipur, Chhattisgarh. Professor Verma has graced many other illustrious positions. He has served as chairman for the Commission of Scientific and Technical Terminology, Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India. He has also worked as director, NCPSL, Government of India. He has a vast experience in the fields of education and administration. He has been an active member of various prestigious committees at national level, such as the Hindi Advisory Committee, Ministry of Mines, Ministry of Steel, GIA and CIIL, etc. He has also been a member of the selection committees in various central as well as state universities, such as Public Service Commission, Staff Selection Commission, etc. He was a member of the General Council and also the member of Language Development Board of the prestigious Sahitya Academy. He is an inspecting authority of Maulana Azad Education Foundation, Ministry of Minority Affairs, Government of India. He also has commendable experience as a writer and editor. He has authored many valuable books such as Karyalay in Hindi, Chhattisgarh Ki Asmita, Linguistics and Literature, etc. Working in the capacity of Chairman, Commission for Scientific and Technical Terminology and Director, Central Hindi Directorate, he has undertaken the task of publishing more than 3 dozen articles and 3 journals. Now, I humbly invite Honorable Vice Chancellor to address the session. Sir, please welcome.
Thank you, Smita. Good morning, all of you. Our esteemed guest speakers, Dr. George Onsi from Cairo, Egypt, Professor K.C. Jose from Saudi Arabia, Dr. Deepa Chandran Ram from Melbourne, Australia, my dear friend, Dr. A.K. Paliwal from Hamidia College, Bhopal, and Dr. Gajen Singh Chauhan from BITS, Pilani, Professor Girish Khan Pandey, Registrar of our university, Chairperson of the webinar, Dr. Shahid Sharma, Convener, Dr. Madhu Kamra, Co-Convener, Dr. Smita Sharma, organizers, Dr. Madhulata Bara, Dr. Girja Shankar Gautam, advisory committee members, Dr. Kirti Tiwari, Dr. Shukla Banerjee, Dr. Jaya Tiwari, organizing secretaries, Professor Vikas Panchakshri, and Dr. Chandrasekhar Sharma, and all the participants from all across the globe. As you all know, we are gathered in this online platform for the inaugural day of two-day international webinar on language, literature, and media in contemporary times, organized by School of Studies in Literature and Languages, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Raipur. I express my sincere gratitude to all the eminent speakers of the webinar for their valuable time to grace the occasion. We all are aware that due to the rise of the pandemic, COVID-19, everything got locked down. This situation critically affected academic activities, and institutes opted several options to survive and compelled to opt for online classes to complete their courses. They also conducted webinars to run the curriculum. We followed the same thing, and our university is continuously organizing such webinars in different streams to bring together experts and participants in a same platform. The webinar Language, literature, and media in contemporary time aims to provide a platform to all the participants, particularly to students, to have an idea of language, literature, and media in contemporary times. Literature is carried by the language through any medium. So all the three are very important to sense human expressions and experiences. Nowadays, all the three are shaped by technology. Social media has become a need to extend any activity in this adverse situation of lockdown. Language, literature, and media play a pivotal role for literature to be mirrored around the world. Through this e-conference, the participant would be encouraged to take up creative and critical understandings. It is expected that this discussion and interaction would enable the participant to enhance and express their knowledge on a digital platform and to bring influence in the society. I really appreciate the step of Dr. Shreya Sharma, chairperson of the webinar, and especially Dr. Madhu Kamra, convener of the webinar, and their whole team for organizing such event to provide an opportunity to listen and interact with such proficient scholars from premier institutes. I hope that all the participants will take full advantage of lectures and interaction times with subject experts to solve their queries. I wish this webinar a grand success and wish all the participants to have a feast of learning, knowledge development, and the sharing of experiences. Thank you. Namaskar, Sathiyo.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your motivating us through your valuable thoughts and the words of wisdom. Thank you, sir. So, moving forward to the program, it's time to begin with the first plenary session. To start the first session, I kindly invite Dr. Chandrasekhar Sharma.
Good morning, everyone. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor K.L. Varmaji, convener of the conference, Professor Madhu Kamra, my Guru, Professor Vikas Panchakshri, and all other my Gurus, and the guest of honor of today's plenary session, Professor George Onsi. It is my pleasure to introduce Professor George Onsi to this wide forum on which we are hosting around 350 participants. Professor Onsi is an Egyptian thinker, poet, and artist. He is associated with the Egyptian Russian University at Cairo as a professor of English and architecture. It's a rare combination over which Professor George Onsi has an expertise. Professor Onsi has been awarded for his outstanding works of poetry and art. He calls himself as universal unifying spirituality. He has published his papers in several international printed anthologies, magazines, and journals. He is a recipient of several awards, notably Global Icon Peace Award in 2017, the Most Outstanding Peace Poet 2017-18, and the Best Poet Award in 2018, which was awarded to him by World Nation Writers Union, Kazakhstan. To this forum, I would also say that Professor Onsi is a is a well has a very commendable tongue over 7 different languages. He is fluent in German, Russian, Arabic, English, Spanish, and Italian as well. And he not only speaks these languages, but he has written enormously in these languages. Currently, he is an advisor and director and a jury member of several international literary organizations like World Union of Poets and Writers International Network, Canada. It's my pleasure to find him here, and I find it a special privilege to hand over this forum to Professor George Onsi for his discourses. Thank you very much for your consent, sir, and for being with us. Over to you, Professor George Onsi.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much for this kind introduction, Doctor. Good day, everyone. I'm so glad and honored to be with you today at this international e-conference of Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, with deep gratitude to Professor Dr. K.L.M. Varma, Professor Dr. Madhu Kamra, Professor Dr. Vikas, and Professor Dr. Nagosi Sila Panchumarti, and all the organizing team for their invitation and coordination of this prestigious event. Thanks again, Dr. Chandra Shankar, for the production. This is the second webinar I participate in with dear Indian friends after I had been to India 3 times before for literary or art festivals. I consider India the spiritual temple of our planet, my second homeland. In a time where the sword of violence prevail everywhere, shedding blood and pain everywhere, the word should have a place, should have the upper final decision and action, actually. And this is what we experience through language and literature. Enjoy life eternally. Part 1 or level 1, a psychosomatic approach to body, spirit, soul harmony to meet or to face life challenges. This is my presentation today, and it's all about how to enjoy our existence, not only through temporary or day-to-day experiences, rather eternally in spite of all our life challenges and problems. In fact, when we think of the human being, we should view him, her, as a 3-dimensional living whole that has a body, a spirit, which is a combination of mental and sentimental awareness, and soul. As our body and what is related to it, as mental and sentimental experiences, are closely related to our earthly journey or to our earthly episode of our existence, will be left behind when we part from this world, we should face the fact that unless we have developed our spiritual, intellectual awareness, we won't enjoy our everlasting existence beyond the borders of this life here. As we see on this diagram, normally the body occupies the major part of our time, effort, concern, even thinking and emotions, while the spirit and the soul have only limited sectors of our daily life activities. And as our modern life is becoming more and more materialistic, our physical needs expand to cover even more territories. Here we should ask ourselves, how can we continue our existence beyond the earthly lifetime with an undeveloped spirit and soul after our body has been left behind? The key approach I'm suggesting through this presentation, as you see in chart 2, is a psychosomatic harmony, unifying and synchronizing our body, spirit, and soul together. This orchestration, as I like to call it, can only be possible through the coincidence of their daily activities with a lively, intimate metabolism with the entire universe. It is a threefold human being's eternal dialogue with its source of existence, the cosmic logos or creator, however you call it, but we all agree that it is the spiritual, intellectual cause who brought us to existence. But how can such orchestration be possible? To answer this question, I'm going to display this spiritual, intellectual, practical system, which can be developed through 2 levels, as you see on chart 3. Level 1, spiritual, intellectual, sentimental. Level 2, practical and problem solving. Level 1, as you see, be an eternal being, getting 1, an eternal mind, 2, an eternal feelings or sentimental experience, 3, a body-soul harmony. Level 2, down to the ground, facing life's challenges. And this can be in another meeting because it has different parts, as I displayed on the next chart, with down to the ground, facing life challenges. This is the title of the next chart. It's talk about professional successes and how this can be achieved when following such system, spiritual, intellectual system, professional success, and coordination and harmony in all parts of life. Next, a visual system to map out problems and crises for effective solution. And this will be my presentation to another webinar in Nigeria in a few days. I will have the pleasure to invite you to. Another dimension in this practical level, which is 3, understanding work as a communion with the existence. Then facing problem as positive changes in life, then inter-religion and interracial peacemaking. Now we'll focus on the level 1, starting with eternity gates, as I call it, the key multi-level technique to achieve the needed eternal awareness. Be an eternal being, getting 1, an eternal mind, 2, an eternal feelings or sentimental experience, 3, a body-spirit harmony. We start with the spirit with, as I say, the combination between the mind and the sentimental experience. So the eternal mind, the key thing to have an eternal mind, that you need to find your role in the existence, which means you must realize that you are here for a purpose. You are part of a universal divine plan. You came to this time and this place as an open message to be read by all. So you are part of you have been brought to this episode of the history, this time of the history, this period of the history, the long history, and this particular place of the vast universe in order to fulfill a divine plan, universal plan. As we see in next chart, we present the metrics. We should try to line up our journey of life along the universal matrix that governs the whole existence, being and becoming. I presented by this red line, which shows the coincidence of our itinerary of life, trajectory of life along the matrix. In another presentation, here we will be able to touch and enjoy, as presented by this statue that I chose. Here we will be able to touch and enjoy the matrix, filling the space of existence, all embracing us. It is the divine womb, the living, all-prevailing body of God. Although this sculpture may suggest this concept, this also a key component to my research, a theology of space-time, theology of space-time. Another word is to be interwoven into the source of existence, source of life, source of love, in body, spirit, and soul. This is how what we may all call living eternity, starting here and now. And I presented with these details of my painting. So to conclude this part, enjoy forever. What is enjoying forever? Enjoy life forever, starting here and now. It is an inseparable unity with the matrix, with the divine source of our existence. Enjoy eternity is using my talents and abilities within a divine plan for the good of all. Then we move to the eternal sentiment, which is complementary to the mind to form the spirit. Number one, the dialogue of beauty. Our contemplation of beauty actually is a dialogue, kind of spiritual, intellectual dialogue. First, we explore it through the splendor of nature. You see the variety of nature in next picture with all this variety. Then we move to this yin-yang circle. Beauty is a continual divine message telling us that there is a balance between all the contradictions of our existence. Next chart shows us the balance between unity and variety or plurality. What do we learn from beauty? Actually, beauty is the manifestation of cosmic balance between unity and variety, unlimited variety and plurality. This is part of the theory of Plato, as he said it to his disciples when asked about the main key of artistic composition. And this play a very important role in any artistic or literary form to balance up unity versus variety. Number two, the dialogue of beauty through the works of art. Between Plato's and Aristotle's view of art, we may view art as revealing the hidden reality of the world rather than just trying to incompletely imitate it, as Plato stated, because he thought art is far 2 degrees from, in the 3rd degree, away from the ideal reality of things. This diagram needs to show all the arrows in order to see the difference of these different levels. Then we move to next one, which shows Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. As a Vitruvian Man, written by Vitruvius in the Latin time and depicted through Da Vinci in the Renaissance, in his sketch that you see, represent the integrity of man with the universe. Also, the modular of Le Corbusier, that pioneer of architecture and art from Switzerland, the modular or the anthropometric scale. Le Corbusier turned the proportions of man's divine God-like body into a golden mathematical serial, appreciated by his contemporary Albert Einstein. Applying it, he could design the most proportional architectural designs in his designs. Next one. So how do you feel being a living scale of beauty? That is what you really are. Then we move to another part of this sentimental experience, our romantic experience and the sentiment of eternity. Our romantic experience has to be interwoven into the eternal source of love, or a day will come when it will go away with the wind of time. Number 4, flowing through space and time. How to flow through space and time in order to experience the eternal dimension of our existence, out or free from the limits of time and space. Tracing back our memories, this is the first thing. Most of our intuitions are related to significant time-space contexts that we cannot get back, but we are still longing to experience it again. This particular feeling can be aroused and intensified through our encounters with the special environments that recall our significant past memories, and can be also developed further to navigate back in time through historical experiences. This may be achieved through art, works of art and literature, as you see in these two paintings of the Victorian period. Then we talk about the time. Is traveling across the time is possible or not? In fact, the idea of navigating in time still obsessing man's mind, as many novels and films reproduce through the history of literature and filmmaking. No wonder that today scientists have started to create a real-time machine, and they are about to do it, actually. In my painting here, I tried to depict this idea, as I tried to depict through my painting the realm of in-between time and space. Such a particular significant moments take us out of our limited earthly time and place. This is a detail of the same thing, showing that particular experience across the current stream of time. This also can be intensified also through meditation, being present in long existing environments like seashores or mountainsides, or ancient architecture and landscapes, as depicted here through this poem of the great Lebanese poet Ilya Abu Madi in his series, The Riddles, or El Talasim, when he was conversing with the sea. Then we move to another slide representing William Blake, because William Blake, as a spiritual poet or mystic poet, he wrote many poems related to eternity, especially The Land of Dreams. The Land of Dreams, his poem, The Land of Dreams. Then I move to my own experience in writing, when I try to communicate with the past and past figures, great men, literary people, artists, and so. In first of my series, top left, my series letters entitled Letters to the Past, when I had letters with William Blake, Victor Hugo in French, Goethe in German, and others. Also, the series down left of called Poetic Interviews Across the Centuries with Sappho in her own original languages translated to English, and with Job of the Old Testament, and with Dante and Virgil through their debate on the Divine Comedy. Then we move another example. It's called Encounter with Souls, or Interviews with Souls, as with Julius Caesar, with Cicerone, and also with Beethoven. And bottom right, you can see this series that I depicted during the pandemic was afflicted some countries. So I sent letters to those countries saying, you are stronger than death, whether Italy or the United States, or when that pandemic was affecting most those countries, about 6 countries in 6 different languages, where I conversated with their great literary figures like Dante, or Abraham Lincoln, or George Washington, or Schiller, and so on. Finally, in this part, I would like to focus on top right on what is printed of this product actually as ebook on Bookemon 2 years ago. It is with Oscar Wilde, an experience with Oscar Wilde through his difficulty and his latest years of his life. Theoretically speaking, I believe that navigating back in time is closely related to space. The spiral flow is a good example of such a flow in time, both forward and backward. This may explain the spiral structure of black holes being, as astronomers say, the gates of eternity. Further details on this point will be found in my research paper, Theology of Space-Time. Now we move to another, this is the conclusion of this part. To enjoy eternally is to be time-free, omnipresent, consciously united to the source. Then we move to the third part of our components, the body. The body, as I said before, the body occupies the most of part of our time and concern. So the key is to turn our bodies, senses, and actions into a conscious mechanism that synchronizes with our spirit and soul through a continuous dialogue with the source of our existence. How is that? In fact, our body gets its perception and conception of the world through the 5 senses, and gets from it, through its physiological processes, the needed substance to survive. So let's talk first about the 5 senses as presented by this painting I chose. Hearing, we can enjoy everything we hear. We can enjoy everything we smell. We can enjoy everything we see. And talking about sight, we should talk about enjoying or contemplating the variety of colors, as you see in this slide, with different colors of environment, and variety of environments, as you see in this picture depicting or showing different environments, variety of creatures. The next, I see how tremendous is the variety, a vast variety of creatures around us. Then the taste and touch, we get to the taste and touch. And then we ask ourselves, we are not blessed with enjoying only the variety of color, smell, and taste of hundreds kinds of fruits and natural foods, but also the scenario of pleasure and delight, biting, chewing, and swallowing each piece with its special texture and substance. Scientists would say, stick to the functional interpretation of variety as merely adaptation. They would say it is only adaptation. This variety is because of the adaptation that any creature needs. Okay. However, the question still remains why there is such a great variety in 1 meter cube of the same environment. So that will lead us to the conclusion that I believe that the answer is the intention of the divine designer of such a variety to make us experience, learn, and enjoy life. And why is that? This rich variety is nothing but a universal message of love, where every and each individual creature contributes to this enjoyment message, each in its own way and through its own existence. So to conclude this part, to enjoy eternally, get a sense of life, grateful to the source, creating an eternal dialogue. This continual gratitude actually creates a kind of continuous dialogue, living dialogue with the source of living. And when you are attached with him, you will feel that all the other problems of life are solved miraculously. This is my own experience. So to conclude this, again, with this chart representing the globe on the 2 arrows, our body gets the perception and conception from the world through the 5 senses, and also got the physiological processes, gets the energy and the substance to survive from the physiology. So we'll be talking now about the physiological process. First, we start with breathing. I learned through my singing lessons that the same air we breathe in is the same with which we sing out or talk when communicating with others. This means the perfect cycle to communicate with the source of life can be practiced and enjoyed. Every moment we receive that life-giving breath, giving it back as a singing of praise or as words of affection and love to the people we communicate with. There is another dimension of breathing, which is breathing and our omnipresence experience. We ask ourselves, the air we breathe, hasn't it come from everywhere on the planet to end up getting into our own being? Then we move to digestion. And we say, beside the enjoyment of eating and tasting and all we mentioned before, eating, how about eating and our omnipresence experience? It is the same thing like breathing. The food we eat, hasn't it come from everywhere on the planet to end up getting into our own being? The same thing with drinking and our omnipresence experience. And we ask again ourselves, the water we drink, hasn't it come from everywhere on the planet to end up getting into our own being? Then we talk about another physiological function, which is sex. Through the experience of love making, we can also enjoy the same communion with the whole universe, where the source of love is present everywhere. These paintings I made years ago, before 2016, presents the wheel of existence that you should find, you may find in the temple of the sun in Orissa. And I made it years before the Providence allowed me to go there when I went to a conference of art and literature there. I found myself all of a sudden very close to that place, so I went with my friend Dr. Journal Anand. And this painting, I'm talking, this is a kind of the dialogue between conversation between the sacred wheel of existence of India and the mythological figures of the frieze of Athena temple. And you see the figures here are depicted, all of that depicted before knowing that the Kama Sutra exists there, or the source of Kama Sutra is there in that temple that I visited after a year or two after. To conclude this part, I say to enjoy eternally, get life's gifts, all the gifts that you get in your life, in continual gratitude, and like that, creating an eternal dialogue with the source of those gifts. So this is the same chart representing the globe and how we get through the five senses, the knowledge and awareness of the world and physiological processes, the energy, and what is to survive. Then in the next diagram, we show that from breathing and eating, we can get the energy. This energy is to set our motor system to work, coordinated by the nervous system in order to contribute to all the activities our body can do. As you see, let's be aware of each and every step as we walk through our life journey. This is if we are talking, for example, about walking as one of the activities or the actions we do every day. The same thing, the other activities like writing, shaking hands, playing music, feeding people or feeding creatures, helping others, everything can be felt, through these actions. The same thing with work. About work, it's taking 75% of our time, daily time. The same thing, we can enjoy work. Sports, the same thing. And then relaxation, even through our rest and sleeping, we can enjoy a sense of accomplishment of the daily contribution we have done. So like that, the perfect cycle of our existence can be possible. To complete the perfect cycle of our body, we take from the world knowledge through our senses and physiological processes. We take the five senses, knowledge, conception, perception, and conception, and the physiological process. We take energy and we give back to the world, the universe, give it back the energy we have got as work and care. So we give work and continual contribution to our world. So this is a complete cycle, what I call a perfect cycle of our existence. This is intimate metabolism between our threefold being and the source of the universe and the source of the universe. It's a story of life that continues beyond the limits of this earthly life, eternally, and that's what I call enjoy eternally. So to conclude this, to enjoy eternally, get the feel of action through our continual contribution, to be like a fruitful tree that can give, that can take to give its fruits to everybody. Then finally, I would give again outline of second part of the second level. We don't have time in this conference to talk about it. It's first the professional success that can be the fruit and the outcome of this experience, spiritual experience that I myself have experienced it, still experienced it. And the problem solving of every daily life problem you meet or difficulties. And this once presented by Jonathan Livingston Seagull, a book written by a jet pilot, American jet pilot and writer called Richard Bach. And this book translated into many languages, and it shows how if you fix your idea about developing your soul and connecting to the higher source, everything of the daily life and material life of problems and challenges can be solved. And this is the experience I have myself. The second part, which is a focus up in the center, it shows the visual system to map out problem and crisis for effective solution. And this is a complete theory. This is the dissertation of my thesis, my doctorate under American Egyptian supervision in the 80s. It is called a geometrical approach for problem solving. And this and its application on conflict resolution will be presented for the second time on a webinar to Nigeria on the 5th of August, and you are all invited, cordially invited. I will send you the link. I will post the link. Then understanding work as a communion with the existence. I will talk about this also with the multi-dimensions of work, our daily work, which connect us to our existence, eternal existence, and facing problems as positive changes in life, leading towards our growth, spiritual growth. The fifth part is interfaith and interracial peacemaking for the unity and solidarity of mankind. This is the chart of the analysis of the problem-solving theory and conflict resolution. And this is the webinar, the coming webinar that I cordially invite you to. And this is my own links on Facebook, and our Arab International Forum called Sahwa in Arabic, Awakening in English, and our 11 multilingual Eternurama groups, especially the English Eternurama, the Eternal Joy, and the Eternurama of Hindi and local languages. You are all welcome to come and visit and to put your precious posts. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for this chance getting with you and sharing with you my ideas.
Hello.
Hello? Yes? Yes? Hello?
Thank you very much, Professor George Onsi, for this beautiful speech on spirituality, art, and literature. It was insightful to listen to you, and it was inspiring too.
Thank you, sir.
What I can feel from your presentation is that you must have worked very hard to bring in some photographs, pictures, facts, and other things. It was really a pleasure for all the participants, because I can see in the chat box, many of them said that they were amused by your slides and all. Thanks a lot. And now, Professor, we have some questions. So Anurima is going to flash 4 questions to you. She has chosen from the chat box the best questions. So we request you to please respond to those questions and to satisfy the people who have some queries. Okay. Over to Anurima.
Okay. The checkbox. Well, I find it. Do you want to?
Panorama,
Yeah. Yeah. لا لا أنا مش تشيك بوكس بتكلم على حاجة تانية. شات بوكس.
Hello.
Yes. Yes. Hello.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I am Manurima Das.
Yes.
And first of all, sir, I would like to express my gratitude to you for enlightening us on such a beautiful topic.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And I would like to request the participants that please give us your questions. We will be choosing a few questions to discuss with sir right now. And the other questions we will be duly noting down and sending you on emails. So first of all, sir, I would like to have your attention. There's a very beautiful question posed by one of the participants, Hriday Das. He asks that what's the way of conceptualizing soul?
What is the way of conceptualizing?
Conceptualizing soul.
The way of conceptualizing soul. You mean by that the way to develop a conceptualizing soul? So, what he's asking about the process of growing our soul to be more conceptualizing. May you explain more your question, please?
So that much is written in it. I would like, however you perceive, you can tell us. I would just read the question word to word.
Professor, if I have to add to it, I feel that the participant wants to know that what makes people and philosophers to conceptualize the soul, maybe in terms of form, maybe in terms of characteristics, maybe in terms of spiritual consciousness. So the basic question I feel is that how do people conceptualize soul? What do have their feelings about it?
In fact, there is a vast variety between the way of conceptualizing souls, ranging from those people who ignore the existence of soul altogether, or thinking that's just intellectual ability, or maybe higher, or something mysterious that you wouldn't talk about, or you wouldn't fathom its meaning. Or others think it's related to God. So there are different ways of conceptualizing soul. And that's why when I talked in my presentation about that source of existence, I talked generally for those who think that we were brought to existence by nature, or by the universe, or the intellectual universe, or by a creator. These different things can have one interpretation, trying to have some interpretation. There must be some intellectual logos, as I say it, logos, or as the ancient thinkers call it, logos of the entire universe, the mind of the entire universe. I wish I could answer the question.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish that the participant is satisfied with your explanation. The next question, we have another very beautiful question from a participant, Hema Ravi. She asks that, is intuition always related to past experiences?
Intuition. Yes,
Yes, sir.
intuition is very important for past experiences, and this is very important. Many people think that this is just a fantasy or something, subsidiary, not important in our life, but it could intensify our spiritual experience. if we enhance it and if we orient it as well. You can enhance it through works of art, contemplating work of arts and nature, and the contemplating ancient places, ancient writing. As my own experience, when I said I try to have dialogue through my writings with past writers, and I used their own words. By the way, I forgot to say that I used their own quotes. For example, with Oscar Wilde, I didn't use one word, from my imagination from his side, but they were all conversing with his own words. The same thing with all the people of the past I conversed with. So it is intuition, yes, but I say it could be enhanced through our works of literature and art, writing, and creation. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. There's another question
Yes.
asked by Dr. Atul Kumar. He says, he asks, is eternal feeling possible without eternal mind?
The point is that they are all relating. I started with the eternal mind because it is basic. Unless we view our life as a plan, a divine plan, universal plan, if you want to call it, that can be fulfilled through our time limits, our time period, we cannot put the other layers like sentimental, which comes after that, and the body, the body soul experience or the psychosomatic experience. So the basic thing is to orient our mind, to adapt our mind, to set our mind to be oriented through eternity, to view our life as a divine episode leading to eternity. We start eternity now and we continue beyond this life. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering the question so diligently.
Thank you.
Now I would like to revert back to Chandrasekhar, sir, for taking over the session.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot. The queries were interesting and the answers were far more interesting and stimulating as well.
Thank
And we do hope that the 3 participants who have posed questions, in fact, I would say that there were about 7 to 8 questions with us, but looking into the time constraints, we chose 4 at our control room, and we flashed 3 to them because we have another plenary session that has to be continued, and we plan to finish it with time. With this, I extend my heartiest thanks to Professor George Onsi on behalf of not only organizers and the university, but on behalf of all the participants present here. It's our pleasure to listen to you. And in fact, I would extend personal thanks and personal gratitude to Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor K.L. Verma, sir, also, because I am seeing for the first time a Vice Chancellor, sir, has spared so much of time in listening to the discourse of a person at a web conference. We have another session as well. We would have prolonged it for a long, but Professor Onsi, there is another session here in which Professor Casey Jose will be deliberating on media and literature. So thank you very much for sparing your precious time. Grateful to you. Thanks a lot, sir. Over to Madam Smita for continuation.
Thanks all. Thank you very much.
So now we are moving towards the second plenary section of this international e-conference. I heartily welcome all the dignitaries for our second plenary session. And to start this session, I humbly invite Dr. Chandrasekhar Sharma again to start the session.
Dear friends, the second session is from Casey Jose, sir. I would request Professor Casey Jose to be here with us. He is hidden somewhere in a large crowd of around 400 people, 307 people now. 100 have opted out and moved to YouTube. I would just say that just to inform that we are beaming it on 3 different platforms: Facebook, Zoom, and YouTube. So different people have logged into this web conference through different channels, looking into the feasibility of network. Dr. Casey Jose, let me search. Dr. Casey Jose. Please unmute yourself, sir.
Okay.
Dr. Jose, please unmute yourself.
Oh, okay. Okay. One. Unmute. Are you asking something? Hello? Hello, you.
No, I'm talking to Casey Jose, sir.
Okay.
Dr. Chandrasekhar, in case you permit me.
I think you got disconnected. Please
Okay.
connect yourself. You have been admitted. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And please unmute yourself, sir. Please unmute yourself, sir.
Ma'am Madhu, please continue.
So I want to talk on the second theme that the plenary would take up, and that is on the use of words. What kind of words are being used these days, and how does it amount to the making of resilient literature? That's a new term that has come up. And if you look into the kind of words which are being picked up, you find that there are more of compound words as well as portmanteau words. And this is a very interesting phase. I'm sorry, Mr. Joss has joined us, and I take your leave. And over to Smita to take the program further.
Very good afternoon to all of you. Now we are entering to the second plenary session with our next distinguished guest speaker, Honorable Professor K.C. Jose, and I consider it as a great honor to introduce Professor K.C. Jose. So I invite Dr. Chandrasekhar to introduce Professor K.C. Jose.
Thank you very much, Arunima. And thank you very much, Smita. It's my personal privilege, and it's a grand opportunity for me to introduce Professor Casey Jose. I think again he has got disconnected. Please pin the video. Professor Casey Jose has been a famous teacher in Bhutan and Nepal. He enjoys the privilege of producing thousands and thousands of scholars and teachers from his, what he calls, from his blackboard and chalk. Professor Jose has a very long experience of teaching in different countries. He has been very famous for his recitation of English poetry, writing stories, articles, and for his very interesting ways of teaching. It was my pleasure that we worked together in a country, and this conference brought me to see him after around 15 years of time. Dr. Jose has served Samchi College of Education in Bhutan, and which later became National Institute of Education. And from there, he provided his services to different consultancies as well. Dr. Jose is a very keen researcher of language and linguistics. He has mastery over literature, and all these qualities drove him to the Techno University in Saudi Arabia. Due to the lockdown period, he is in India and we got an opportunity to interact with him. Dr. Jose is fantastic, has fantastic oratory skills. He is a keen researcher. To his credit, he has uh, he has around 10 research papers, 2 books. His criticisms written on Bhutanese literature and poetry have been widely appreciated and are still considered as references in Bhutan. He is remembered with high reverence not only in Bhutan but among his students in Saudi Arabia. Dr. Jose is back with us. We let us keep our fingers crossed that when he speaks, there comes no technical glitch between him and us. Over to Dr. Jose.
I think that we have again lost him. And please talk to him because he is not able to start his mic. Actually, his video is okay. Yeah. His connection is not stable, I think.
His connection is not stable.
Ma'am Madhu, would you like to continue for a moment till Dr. answers?
Yes. See, I was talking about how the words have come into making. We all know the various processes, but this crisis calamity has added much to our, no doubt, the making of language that we read every day in the newspapers as well as in the magazines. And most of the words as I told you earlier, they are the clubbed ones. You can say that they are compounded with the already existing words in order to make a powerful suggestion of meaning. To me, they are, the stroke of such words, they are suggestive of the collaborative strength that is needed in order to fight out the crisis that we are facing. Now, when we attended to thank you that Dr. Jose is again here, and I shall continue later.
Welcome, Joseph.
Thank
the
you,
floor
sir.
is yours.
Thank you, madam, for filling the time gap. There was some technical problem. Nice to meet you all. Good afternoon. Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Dr. K.L. Verma, respected convener of the webinar, Dr. Mathu Kamra, Dr. George Onsi, Dr. Chandrasekhar Sharma, my good friend with whom I spent some extremely fruitful time in the happiness country called Bhutan. All other intellectuals, luminaries, and language and literature enthusiasts, warm welcome to a humble presentation of mine. To be frank, now I am nervous, but I am honored and speechless. The very fact that the Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University celebrates the word, I repeat, celebrate the word, W-O-R-D. I am on the brink of tears. Let me try a popular song. Sun raha hai na tum. Instead of tum, I will use app. Sun raha hai na ro raha ho me. Sun raha hai na ro raha ho me. The celebration of the word and the celebration of the letter, the akshara, wells my eyes. Let's look at the slide, sir. So my topic is word is not mere word in literature and media. Next slide, sir. Next. Yeah, so that's why I said any eulogy of the word makes me shed tears of joy. In the next part of the song, the very song, the song says, "Waqt chehra hai, kaise hua." I would say that on the occasion of this seminar or this webinar, Waqt bhi tahra hai, meaning the time also is frozen because we are dealing with the word. The word in the media, the impact of the word, the power of the word, the immense potential and possibilities of the word. We are celebrating that because literature is an assembly of words. It's not symbol assembly, but it is a meaningful combination of words at the right time, at the right proportion, in the right rhythm. That's why literature becomes a fascination for thousands of people. And media is literature made journalistic. There's not much difference between literature and media. Of course, there are differences. Of course, there are contrasts. Friends, I have a strong temptation to remember this particular media person. Next slide, sir. Jack Surya, in whose inspiration I, as a language toddler, was baptized into the world of literature, into the world of media. Jack Surya, the indomitable satirist and a word juggler in the Times of India. It is a terribly beautiful, as William Blake said, terrible beauty of the tiger. It is terribly beautiful to read his column avidly every Friday, and the column titled "In the Jugular Vein." In the jugular vein, my goodness, what a wealth of suggestions. Too many suggestions. The jugular vein, as many of you know, is a very important vessel that connects the heart with the brain, the head with the heart, the connection between two H's, H with the H, heart with the head. This connection between the head and the heart is the connection with which T.S. Eliot celebrated in his essay, Heart and the Head. The combination, the connection. So Jack Surya says, in the jugular vein in his column, he says there is a connection. He's trying to attempt a connection between the head and the heart. Unless we feel a thought like we feel a rose. That's what T.S. Eliot says. We should be able to feel a thought. We should be able to think a thought. We should be able to feel a thought for the full potential to grasp and grab. So Jack Surya's column every Friday in the jugular vein. There's a lot of pun possibility here. Jugular can be connected to his name, Jack Surya. In the jugular vein, we usually in literature, we usually use the word in the humorous vein, in a satiric vein, in a similar manner. Here is a jugular vein. Lot of suggestions, lot of wealth. And I am surprised, and I'm sure many of you are, at the statement he makes that's flashed on the screen. Word is a four-letter word. Surprising. Nobody can dispute this declaration and statement. You academics and intellectuals Can you disagree to the fact that the word is a four-letter word? But the literary beauty is the tens and hundreds of connotations he makes here. He says a lot of things unsaid. This is the literature of, this is the charm and beauty of literature. We should be able to say hundreds of things unsaid. Say many things unsaid. That's what he says. For four-letter word, of course, we wrinkle our brows. We are shrunk. We are taken aback at this four-letter word. But what about W-O-R-D? This is also a four-letter word, he says. This statement is simply revolutionary. This declaration is unorthodox. Of course, ruffling the unorthodox feathers of many people is nothing but an invitation and challenge to think out of the box, to think differently and dangerously. This is the impact and the influence of a media person on me, a literature lover. You should be able to think about, ponder over it. Is word a four-letter word? What does he mean? Ever since I encountered this incurable verbal magician, Jack Surya, a rebellious satirist, I have started my romance with the written word, the akshara, the written letter, the imperishable. My gurus have told me akshara means the imperishable. Next slide, sir. The akshara is imperishable. So the word akshara is imperishable. Yes, we are dealing with the imperishable aksharas of the words. And I would like to make a link with this akshara with the first line from the Gospel according to John from the Bible. The Gospel, a part of it, a segment of it is shown there. The very beginning of this Gospel says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and Word was God. Friends, citizens of the literature world, how privileged are we all? How blessed to deal with the divine word, the Akshara. We are not dealing with mundane things. We are dealing with the divine words. Of course, on mundane aspects. Now, we cannot forget the legend in literature, Shakespeare. Next slide, sir. We are linked to Shakespeare. We cannot think of anybody else more prominent than this man, the bard upon the Aven, the immortal bard, the innumerable utterances of wisdom, though made 400 odd years ago, echo relevant today in the media and our lives. So much so that a few glimpses into this literary experience called Shakespeare are worth our while when here is a language. Julius Caesar says, I quote, cowards die many times before their death. The valiant never taste of death but once. How relevant is it in the media? I would say, dear media people, report facts fearlessly, even at the expense of the boss's wrath. Your boss may wrinkle his brows, your boss may fire you, your boss may be angry, but still, fearlessly you should report. A truth worth reporting once is worth reporting many times. Otherwise, what will happen? You will die several times like the coward, Shakespeare said, because the coward dies many times. Fearlessly tell that the emperor is naked. This is your duty because you are the valiant reporter. You are the valiant media person. Tell the emperor is naked. Don't lessly report that your CM or the PM or the minister or anybody else for that matter is a Pinocchio, an incorrigible liar, if he is so. But in case you doubt, in case you are suspicious about the consequences, in case you are not very confident about yourself, what happens? What Shakespeare says next? Through the mouth of Lucio in Measure for Measure, our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we often might win by fearing to attempt. This is the bad result of doubtfulness. You are missing the grand opportunity to tell the truth. Maybe another reporter from another newspaper or another TV channel may say, what was in your mouth? It was a thrilling moment, but you missed it. Look at reporters from the CNN or the BBC or any of our channels. When the CNN reporter, I remember once, when he said Donald Trump wants to be the baby at every christening or baptism, he wants to be the bride at every wedding, and the corpse, the dead body, at every funeral. Wonderful, wonderful reporting, wonderfully couched in beautiful words. People may dispute and debate, of course. That is the purpose of literature, open to debate, the openness of interpretation. But the reporter's doubtlessness, the straight spine of the reporter, the fearlessness with what he thinks is right, is inescapable and irresistible. This inescapability and irresistibility is the charm of literature, and when literature is brought into media. But there is a but. Of course, you can be fearless. Of course, you should not be doubtful. But then what you should be speaking should be brief and to the point. That's what the next quote from Shakespeare says. That is, so next quote, brevity is the soul of wit. One click, next quote. Brevity is the soul of wit. That is, in the same slide, next quote, sir. Next quote. Brevity is the soul of wit. This is advised by Polonius in the immortal play Hamlet. Though Polonius himself does not follow this advice, we media persons, literature persons have a lot of things to learn from here. We should be brief and we should be to the point. And then, what does Prince Morocco say in The Merchant of Venice? He says, all that glitters is not gold. We all are familiar with this proverb, but many of us do not know that this is from Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice. All that glitters is not gold. What is the relevance and significance of this quote in the media? When Prince of Morocco says that it becomes an unmistakable advice to be careful about the digital media, the plethora of golden advertisements that tempt us into buying everything thoughtlessly and be a spendthrift, empty our purses upon the golden promises of commercial media advertisements. And literary figures and people, what do? I would like to look at some of the tools, some of the vehicles that media persons and literary figures use to drive their messages home. Next slide, sir. I am talking about the tools called pun, humor, and satire, used by writers, used by media persons. Pun, humor, satire. These are comprehension lubricants, because some ideas are too subtle, some ideas are so difficult and unintelligible that they use pun, humor, and satire to make things clear to us. That's why I call it lubrication. Comprehension, lubricants. Let's look at some of the examples. The first one is taken from the media. That is, a certain number of fleas is good for the dog. They prevent him from brooding over being a dog. It isn't only the income tax or customs officials who regard the common man along these lines. Yes, the message is very clear. The sad plight of the common man, the mediocre taxpayer, is worth noticing. Like a publicly placed drum, the common man gets the beating or the hit by every passerby. That's why the writer, the media person says a certain number of fleas is good for the dog because they prevent him from brooding over being a dog. See, income tax and custom officials, they pester us. Us means the dog-like existence of ours, the ignoble existence of ours. The higher-ups are never touched by these people. Okay, the next quote. On the same slide, the next quote. The next quote talks about one who, as a newly appointed PM, is reported to have remarked that those who make history have no time to read it. That's the next quote. Dr. Sharma, is the slide available? So anyway, that is the quote I wanted to use as the second quote, where pun and humor and satire are used. This is from a famous reporter, one who, as a newly appointed PM, is reported to have remarked that those who make history have no time to read it. Yes, thank you. And when I read this quote, my mischievous brain immediately whipped up the picture of the US president as I read it. Let's read it once again. I don't know whether it will match with Donald Trump. One who, as a newly appointed PM, is reported to have remarked that those who make history have no time to read it. Sorry if I have offended some of our friends. And the next quote is mentioned about our former late Prime Minister Narasimha Rao when he published one of his books, The Other Half. When this book was published, this was a remark which came in the newspaper, where a man cannot call his tongue his own. He can scarce call anything else his own. Why should our PM be denied this freedom? The uproar over his autobiographical novel, The Other Half, is terrible. So the point is, the media comment sarcastic and critical when our late Prime Minister published his autobiographical book. The question is there freedom of speech? Is there tolerance of the speech or the lack of tolerance, intolerance to fresh perspectives? These are some of the thoughts raised by media. And the media use pun and humor, of course satirical. Friends, gentlemen and ladies, I would like to go back to the same inspirer, that is Jack Surya. I am intellectually and aesthetically aroused, truly, at some of the literary figures' impish penchant for coining words. Let's look at some of the words being coined. Why are these words coined? Perhaps these are not in the dictionary. These words are coined. There is a necessary situation where existing words do not work, or existing words do not suffice the purpose or the idea that's in our mind. Here, Jack Surya is raising this question: has the hyper language of modern media sodomized semantics? Specifically, he wrote it many years ago in 1990. He was asking about the language, the literature being used by modern media, that is dubbed as hyperlanguage of modern media. What happened to that? He's wondering whether it has sodomized semantics. Be prepared, friends. Morality custodians, if there are. Be prepared not to be burned or singed by an apparently vulgar terminology. But if the toad is ugly, we should call a toad, as we call a spade a spade. This is exactly what this media person has said, whether you like it or not. The incorrigible satirist, he gives examples further. And the next example he gives is in the context of the Vietnam War. The American journalist Norman Mailer, he coined the word factoid. Interesting. We are familiar with the facts. We are familiar with the truths. We are familiar with the verities. But here is a new word, factoid. Why? Because the word of fact is not enough. The word of fact alone fails. That's why he invents a new word, factoid. What is a factoid? The explanation is there. Is to denote an untruth that through repetition gained acceptance and credibility of a fact. That is a factoid. It's not a fact. It's not truth. But it becomes a fact, or it assumes acceptability and credibility of a fact through repetition. We must have seen or we must have heard of so many stories in our day-to-day personal lives also. We may find instances of real falsehood becoming truth through repetition. Repeatedly telling a falsehood, it may become a truth one day. And then that's not called a truth. That's not correct. That's not a fact. It's a factoid. This is the impish penchant for coining new words. And Jack Surya further talks about Shobha Day, reviewing Shobha Day's socialite evenings, a book obviously designed to be talked about more than read, and is meant for consumption by readeroids. Dear academics, dear friends, dear university colleagues, I just can't. So can't many of you I know. Hold my sides laughing uncontrollably at the use of these new words, factoids, readeroids. These are interesting. Readeroids, we are readeroids. And we read factoids. These are the coinages which make you laugh because there is some beauty in it. Just like Leo Tolstoy once said, kinglet, K-I-N-G-L-E-T, instead of calling a king, he said he's not a king, he's a kinglet because the kingdom he rules over is a very small kingdom and the population is small. So he's not a fully fledged king, he's a kinglet. Likewise, readers who are consuming things, not reading things, they are called readeroids. Readers who are consuming factoids are readeroids. These are funny instances of new words which are necessitated by new circumstances, new situations, nationally or internationally. Factoids. Let's remember the word factoids. I am wondering whether these factoids are similar to alternative facts, an expression that has caught the attention of many people, especially in the US. In contrast to abetting factoids, news people, news media people they abet, they encourage factoids, of course. At the same time, they confront alternative facts. I've taken a quote from Wikipedia to make the meaning of alternative facts very clear to the audience. Of course, you might have come across this alternative facts. It was a phrase used by the US Counselor to the President, Kellyanne Conway, during a Meet the President interview on January 22nd, in which she defended White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer's false statement about the attendance numbers of Donald Trump's inauguration as President of the US. So she was justifying, because Sean Spicer, he flared up the number. He said there were so many thousands of people attending the inaugural function. But that was not true. But you notice that Kellyanne Conway, she has justified this lie, investing it with an honorable mantle. She did not call it a lie, though it was a flagrant lie. She called it an alternative fact. So interesting. A factoid, in other words. How funny, how hard she belabors a justification, like Cinderella's sisters trying to make their feet fit into Cinderella's shoes, thereby almost injuring their feet. Cinderella's shoes do not fit the feet of Cinderella's sisters, but the story says they were trying very hard by squeezing their feet into Cinderella's slippers so that they would be able to marry the prince. I think by using the expression alternative facts, the counselor was trying the same thing which Cinderella's sisters were doing, belaboring an explanation to say that there were too many people attending the inaugural function. So here, an alternative fact is a lie, but a lie that is changed and given a respectable dress or mantle. In fact, though media can cooperate in prevarications, dissimulations, white lies and half-truths, media houses like the CNN help in government decisions. Next slide, sir. That's the other side of media. The media is involved or engaged in prevarications, coming up with white lies and half-truths, of course. But at the same time, you find media houses like the CNN, they bring a lot of helpful impetus or stimulation, like what is called the CNN effect. These are some examples I have taken from the net. The CNN effect. The media, a responsible media person or a media house can be an accelerant in foreign policy accelerant. At the same time, they may also impede a foreign policy formulation. The examples are when there were humanitarian crisis in Somalia, Bosnia, and Haiti. It was the CNN reporting that helped a very helpful foreign policy of humanitarian aid flowing into these affected places. The same thing during 2005 and 2004. 2004, the Asian tsunami, and 2005, the Katrina hurricane and the Kashmir earthquake. The aid support came from various corners because of the media interference. So the media can work as a foreign policy accelerant, at the same time a foreign policy impediment. It can delay a foreign policy framing. So It is worthwhile to see the power of rhetoric in the utterances and speeches and debates presented by the media. I am now talking about the power of a rhetoric. We see or we hear rhetoric, especially in speaking. I would like to invite you to a recent rhetoric that took place in the Senate. Next slide, sir. That is Senator Adam Schiff's very popular speech, which I call Enough Speech. That is the title I give. And here I am reminded of Shakespeare's Henry V. In Henry V, we have this beautiful quote, "Men of few words are the best men." So I call Senator Adam Schiff the best man because of his power of rhetoric. But this power of rhetoric was used for impeachment of the president, but whether it worked or not, that is for the audience to decide. Let's listen to a part of his speech to highlight the power of rhetoric, the choice of words, of course, intonation, pausing, everything is there to make the speech so powerful in the media. Let's listen to that, sir, if the audio is available. Adam Schiff making a speech on the occasion of the impeachment of the US president. Yes, sir, you can start. If it is working. Yeah, we can see the video, but maybe audio we need to fine tune perhaps. So if the, I don't know whether the participants were able to listen to it, but then some of the relevant excerpts of his speech, I would like to quote. He says, I quote, "If right doesn't matter, it doesn't matter how good the Constitution is. It doesn't matter how brilliant the framers were. Doesn't matter how good or bad our advocacy in this trial is. If right doesn't matter, we are lost. Is there anyone among you who will say enough? He has compromised our elections and he will do so again. You will not change him. You cannot constrain him. He is who he is. Truth matters little to him. What is right matters even less. And decency matters not at all. You are decent. He is not who you are." This is just a segment of his powerful speech. Of course, I was not able to reproduce exactly how he delivered it. I just wanted to convey to my friends that rhetoric, the right intonations, and the right message is very powerful, not only in literature, but also in the media. Now, we have discussed quite a lot about the power of the word, the power of Akshara, the imperishable. We have looked at the possibilities of celebrating the word, having been so exultant about the variegated impacts of the word, I can conclude with a sad plight, of course, debatable, of the word or of the Akshara, the new media, the social media, and the SMS has plunged into. That's why I say some of the SMSs and social media language use has turned Akshara to Chara, the imperishable to the perishable. Let's look at the next slide, sir. So that is the other side of the coin. The social media, the SMS messages, they use words, they use aksharas, but how? This is the degradation I am talking about. Akshara metamorphosed or mutilated to kshara in social media. Now this is of course debatable. For example, when I see I miss you mate, how the SMS messages go instead of writing the full sentence. Of course, this saves time and the receiver understands it. Good. I miss you too. Instead of TOO, we write the digit 2. See you later. These are some of the changes or metamorphosis of the akshara or of the word in contrast to the celebration and the happiness of the word which we have been dwelling on till now. That's why I need to sing that line once more. Sun raha hai na ro raha bhumi. Why I am crying, I am weeping, looking at the downward metamorphosis of the word. In the beginning of my talk, I was weeping because I was shedding tears of joy at the celebration of the word in the university, in the Raipur University. Now I look at the other side of the coin. So this is the plight, this is the condition. And I would like to tell you that there is a lot more to explore about the link between language, literature, and the media. Language, literature, and the media is a wonderful synergy. Thank you so much. I will miss you. Not I am you, mate. I really miss you. And let's meet in further in future discussions and deliberations and webinars. Thank you, university coordinators, especially my friend Dr. Sharma, for giving me this chance. Thank you so much. That's done, sir. Hello. Thank you for being so attentive. Thank you, all the participants. Wonderful audience.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your profound thought. The session was full of zeal and valuable information for all of us. Thank you so much, sir. And now I would like to invite Anurima for take up the session for the queries.
Good afternoon again.
Sir, मुझे unmute करो ना.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
First of all, sir, if I may, I would like to compliment you on your singing skills. Your melodious opening awakened our spirits.
Song music has that power.
And yes, sir, surely. And now I would like to continue with the questions. We have very good questions. First one I would like to pose to you. It is asked by Charlotte M. George. that is it possible to report truth in these times, especially in India?
That's a very relevant question. That's why I have mentioned in my talk on quotation on media. That's why Jack Surya said the hyperlanguage has sodomized semantics, because semantics is the meaning which the readers make from the written word or the word listened to. So in India, maybe elsewhere, I think it is difficult to report the truth. But as Shakespeare says, if it is difficult to report the truth, you are no more valiant, not a valiant reporter. You are a coward. The problem with cowardice is you may have to die many times before the actual death. So it's up to the reporter to decide whether you want to die journalistically many times before your actual death, or you want to be a valiant. Of course, practically speaking, trying to be valiant in your profession sometimes is at the cost of your profession. I know there's a lot of risk. It's not only in India. Even look at the US or any other country. Perhaps US recently, the president has kept on calling the media fake media, fake media. This is witch hunt. This is falsehood. This is a hoax, and etc. etc. So the problem of truthful reporting has always been at stake, not only in India, but how much we can approximate ourselves to truth. That's what it matters. I accept that it may be a risky endeavor to be truthful all the time. That's why only people of the boy's mental state can call the emperor naked. Only the boy called the emperor naked. All other elders kept quiet. Even when they saw with their own naked eyes that the emperor was coming naked, only the boy among the crowd was able to say, to tell the truth that the emperor was naked. So perhaps we may have to be reborn, as Jesus said, to tell the truth. Thank you for the question. Wonderful.
Very beautiful explanation, sir. Next, I would like to pose another question, which was asked by one participant, Shishirkanta Bhattacharya. He is asking that how this modest yet open quality inculcated through our teaching learning curriculum.
Madam, can you repeat? I couldn't get the question fully.
Surely, sir, surely. The question was how this modest yet open quality can be inculcated through our teaching learning curriculum.
Modest quality, you mean?
Yeah, the modest yet being open, this
Yes.
quality
Yeah.
can be inculcated through our teaching learning curriculum.
Very wonderful question, and a question very close to my heart, because I myself have been a teacher for 35 years. So teaching learning curriculum is perhaps an apple of my eye, and inculcating modest and openness among our pupils is a cardinal point, perhaps central to any curriculum anywhere in the world, I would say. Because studying things by heart, repeating whatever the teacher has told you, repeating whatever is in the textbook is not openness. We are not enabling our students to be creative, to be open. Openness should be an integral part of curriculum. I would agree, because that happens in the tender minds of the school days, and openness should be there in our questions, question papers, and in our classroom discussions. Students should be encouraged to be open. Students should be able to question the teacher sometimes. That doesn't mean that the student should be disruptive in the class. Constructively disruptive, meaning a student should be able to encourage to speak out what he feels is the interpretation of a line in a poem, perhaps. When you say, okay, what does Shakespeare say? What does John Keats say in this poem? Maybe the teacher has his own or her own interpretations. But if the student comes up with a relevant, slightly different, out of the box interpretation, we should encourage that student, because this is openness. This is not openness with pride, but meek and modest openness is an essential part of the curriculum. That is essential inculcation. I agree. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. The next question has been asked by Dr. Atul Kumar Giri. He asks that has media denigrated itself into psychophancy instead of awakening our pride?
Yeah, thank you, doctor. Psychophancy, yes, I agree to some extent. And I have heard and I have read that many of our newspapers and many of our media are playing in the hands of some politicians. May be true. This is what I heard. That may be correct. If that is the case, if you are sponsored by politics or some other business people or corporate giants, then naturally you will have to dance to their tune, and naturally you will have to praise and flatter your sponsor. That happens in the media. The reason is the media is very powerful and influential, be it the print media or the digital media. They influence and they make public opinions. That's why people may indulge in psychophancy of their sponsors, if it is sponsored. But if there are independent media, of course, that's good. You should be able to call a spade, or you should call a toad. You should not call a toad a rose. So psychophancy, I think there is a downward plunge into psychophancy in the media business. That maybe they have their own private ends to meet. So that is a very bad situation. Of course, I agree. But what to do? Is there a messiah or a redeemer of the media to save them from such a plunge? That would be nice. A messianic appearance is welcome now in these hard times. Thank you, doctor, for your question. It's a relevant question and issue. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll just make one last question. Since we were asking a little negative questions, we'd like to end on a positive one. There's a good question.
That's good.
Ram Kumar Rakesh has asked that whether the words have a healing power as medicine has impact on our body.
Yeah, that is great. That's a great observation. As I mentioned in the very beginning, we celebrate the word. Why do we celebrate the word? We celebrate the word because it has the healing power. A word uttered, a word written, both, they have healing powers. That's why an encouraging word from the teacher heals you. A wrong word, a hurting word will cut you. That's why sometimes people say, I have written an article titled Word Grilling, W-O-R-D, word hyphen G-R-I-L-L-I-N-G, word grilling. Some teachers indulge themselves in word grilling in the classrooms. They simply grill the student because of a wrong answer, because of a wrong behavior perhaps, instead of word grilling. Because grilling, it will cut deep into your muscles, even it goes down to your psyche, the soul. And there is a permanent scar. The child, the student will never forget it. That's why I call word grilling. But at the same time, you remember Thomas Alva Edison when he was a student, he was not a good student. He was not a an industrious or intelligent student, and so his teacher wrote on a piece of paper and gave it to little Edison, asked him to hand over it to his mother. What did the teacher write? Your son is adult and unteachable. That is the comment made by the teacher about Thomas Alva Edison. He did not know what was written there, so he simply took it and handed over that paper to his mother. She opened it and read it. Thomas Alva Edison, this little Edison, was afraid, thinking that the teacher would not have very good opinion about me anyway. Maybe the teacher has written something wrong, the mother will thrash me, will scold me now. But what did she do? She did not read exactly what was written there, but she purposefully misread what was written there, because she knew that your son is unteachable and adult, will be causing harm to his life. So she said, dear son, you know what your teacher has written? Your son is hardworking and intelligent and hardworking. That was the turning point in the life of Thomas Alva Edison. His biography says that the mother's misreading of the teacher's harsh words. You see the healing power of the misread word. The word that was misread by the mother had a healing touch on him. And as we all know, he became a very famous scientist of the world. Nobody can ignore. This transformation or metamorphosis of an adult and unteachable student into a great scientist of the world occurred because of the healing touch of the word. The word has healing touch. The way you use the word, the way you utter, the tone of your words, the way you write it, all these things have either burning power or healing power. Thank you. Wonderful question on a positive note. Thank you so much.
Beautifully explained, sir. Thank you so much. Now I would like to revert back to Smita ma'am for taking over the session.
Okay.
Thank you, Anurima, for having a wonderful session interaction with Professor K.C. Jose. And now, moving forward to the program that is of having closing remarks of the sessions, I would like to introduce Dr. Suchitra Gupta for that. So it would be my great honor to introduce Dr. Suchitra Gupta. She is an author, a critic, a reviewer, and an assistant professor from Government VYT PG College, Durg. Her forte being psychoanalysis and Buddhist literature, Dr. C. Ramya has 8 years of, So, ma'am, I would like to invite you to give the closing remarks for the sessions. Please, ma'am. Dr. Suchitra Gupta.
Ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Yes.
Suchitra. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam. A very good afternoon to all. To evolve is a privilege, a boon, a gift bestowed on man, the goodness of which is denied even to the gods. The scholarly lectures of Dr. George Onse on the psychosomatic approach to body, mind, soul harmony for acquiring inner peace and facing life challenges, and Professor K.C. Jose on word is not mere word, in literature and media in the 2 plenary sessions of today have surely evolved our minds and thoughts. I take this opportunity to thank Dr. George Onse, Professor ERO, Cairo, Egypt, and Professor K.C. Jose from Tabuk College of Technology, Saudi Arabia, for their scholarly deliberations. The mind and body are not separate entities. The gross form of the mind is the body, and the subtle form of the body is the mind. Alignment is necessary everywhere and in all walks of life. One can smoothly sail and navigate through turbulent and volatile time if there is harmony among body, mind, and soul. At a time when the world seems to be at a loss, rejecting past values without being able to establish new ones, the inner harmony armors an individual against conformity and false consistency. I am immensely thankful to Professor George Onse for awakening us to our spirituality, turning us inside, for highlighting that professional success can be achieved only by spirituality, and guiding us in the journey from being to becoming through very effective diagrams and beautiful slides that were in fact treat to the eyes. I thank him for revealing to us the mysteries of eternal happiness and the mysteries of the universe and the man's existence and integrity within it. I especially liked the concept that how our day-to-day activities like breathing, eating, drinking are in fact sources of our communion with universe. Your lecture, sir, was a perfect amalgamation of art, literature, and soulfulness. Thank you, sir. Words are singularly the most powerful force available to humanity. They have the energy and the power to help, to heal, to humiliate, to humble, and to make us experience various emotions, rhythms, and adventures of life and beyond. The choice of words sometimes create images with which we are not very comfortable, which can demean a section of society, and we need to be very conscious of our choice of words. I thank Professor K.C. Jose for bringing in the issues of language sensitivity on this platform. Professor Jose, in a very interesting manner, talked at length on the power of media, tools used by media to drive their views in their creation of factoids and interesting coinages. I thank him for raising concerns over metamorphosis of words, words changing into abbreviations, which in fact should be celebrated. Thank you, sir. I thank Dr. George Onse and Professor K.C. Jose for patiently answering the queries of the participants. I extend my sincere gratitude to the Vice Chancellor, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Raipur, Honorable Dr. R.L. Verma, for visualizing this event and bringing together people from across the globe to share their concerns together. My sincere thanks to participants for their patient listening and for making the question and answer session so vibrant. It is indeed a humbling experience to have you all amongst us. I thank the organizers, School of Studies in Literature and Language, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, for organizing this magnanimous e-conference on literature, language, and media in contemporary times, which saw the participation not only from all across India, but also outside India. My special thanks to the convener of this program, Dr. Madhu Kamra, for giving me this space to thank everybody associated with the event. Thank you, one and all. And so, with this, we come to an end of the first day of this 2-day e-conference. We disperse to meet again tomorrow at 11:30 sharp. The login time is from 11:15 to 11:30. The guest speakers of tomorrow are Dr. A.K. Paliwal, who will be speaking on literature and media in present times. Dr. Gajendra Singh Chauhan, he will be speaking on Who Moves My News, the Power of Being Media Literate, and Dr. Deepa Chandran Ram, who will be dealing with academic integrity in teaching and learning. Thank you one and all. Till then, tomorrow we meet. Stay safe, stay happy.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your influential remarks and a sharp observation.
Madhu ma'am, would you like to thank Dr. Suchitra Gupta?
Influential remarks and a sharp observation and analysis. I invite the convener of the conference, respected Professor Madhu Kamra, to throw some lights on the second day of the conference.
Thank you, Suchitra, first for making a wonderful note of the significant ideas that were communicated to us. And this way you made it so easy and we could recall whatever interesting and ideas that are to be further researched upon. Thank you so much. And my thanks to the participants also. Big thanks to the Vice Chancellor who could spare his time and be with us. Thanks to the participants who made the session so interesting with their really probative questions. And on this note, we come to a close, and I request my team that we can disperse so that we can meet tomorrow with again enlightening presenters to speak on some more interesting topics of communication as well as of literature. Thank you so much.